welcome to Burlingame High School and tonight's PAL Bay Division opener between visiting Sacred Heart Prep of Atherton and the Panthers. The Panthers will receive the opening kickoff. And now, ladies and gentlemen, please remove your caps for the playing of our national anthem. Burlingame takes over first and 10.
If you have lived in Burlingame long enough and live within a mile or so of the Burlingame High football field, no doubt you have heard that voice. John Horgan has been the public address announcer for Panther football and basketball for 35 years. But that's just part of his story. John has been writing about San Mateo County and the peninsula for 58 years. A graduate of Serra High School in San Francisco State, he began his professional journalism career at the long-gone Burlingame Advance Star in 1963 and spent the next 43 full-time years at the San Mateo Times and its successor, the San Mateo County Times. He was the final sports editor of the former publication. He has been a freelance writer since 2008. His work has appeared in numerous publications, including the San Jose Mercury News, the NBA Magazine, the NFL Magazine, Sports Illustrated, and the San Francisco Examiner. He currently writes a column for the San Mateo Daily Journal. He is also the author of Cradle of Champions, a selected history of San Mateo County sports. He is one of the creators of the Peninsula Sports Hall of Fame. He and his wife, Marilyn, have lived in Burlingame since 1968. They have 2 adult children and 3 adult grandchildren. Today, the tables are turned, and John Horgan, the interviewer, will become John Horgan, the interviewee. Hi, everyone. This is Mark at the mic. It's my pleasure to have John Horgan on Burlingame. That's a small town, sponsored by the Burlingame Historical Society. John Horgan, thank you so much for stopping by today for this podcast. John, I've been trying to nail this thing down for 2 months, and I certainly appreciate your patience in waiting for this.
Appreciate the offer. It's fun to be here in the above Copenhagen Bakery.
In the off-field building.
I can almost smell the latte.
So, John, we began the podcast with your voiceover, your public address announcing, and 35 years, that's kind of like Lou Gehrig's status. I've got a few questions I'd like to ask you about that. And first of all, how did you get the position? How does one land that position?
I was helping out in the women's basketball program in 1982, and Bob Booker, the football coach, needed an announcer. The team was really bad. They were rated as one of the worst programs in the Bay Area 40 years ago.
This would be the Burlingame football team?
Yes, yeah. They were horrendous is what they were. And their crowds numbered in the teens.
Wow.
It was so bad that at one game we counted the seagulls at halftime.
For attendance?
And there were more seagulls than people. So Bob said, no one wants to do the PA. Would you do it? I said, sure, why not?
Yeah. So that leads me to this question. 35 years, did you ever miss a game? And if you did miss a game,
sure.
Did you call somebody to fill in for you?
Well, I'd always let the athletic director know that I couldn't make it.
Yeah.
But generally, I probably made 90%.
And that goes for basketball
and football.
Yes, so both of them. You made
basketball and football.
Yeah, that's amazing to me. So, how do you prepare for a game? I'm sure you just don't walk up to the press box and pick up a roster and start calling shots. I mean, how much preparation goes into a game?
Well, there are websites. There are high school sports websites. And you can make printouts of rosters, records, statistics, data. So every week, if I have a game, I'll go in on Wednesday and do printouts. Like I'm going to do a Mills game on Friday. Mills is playing El Camino. So I've gotten all the data I need on El Camino today.
Yeah. Okay, so what about practicing pronunciation of names? For example, years ago my son played at Burlingame and he took a kickoff, and all of a sudden I hear on the PA system your voice, Cameron Lucchese receiving on the 10, and you pronounce his name exactly right, because Lucchese is one name that constantly gets butchered up. So as a parent, it made me feel real proud, and I know it made Cameron feel real proud. How do you practice pronunciations? And some of these, in diversity today, there's so many different kinds of names. How do you work with that?
Well, Burlingame has a long time, I would call him an athletic department assistant. His name is Tyler Jameson, and he's been there for at least 25 years. And he's extremely helpful with pronunciations and other material.
Yeah, that's because I would imagine that could be a challenge at times.
It is.
So when you're calling the game, who else is in the booth with you? Who else is up there?
Sometimes Tyler, although he works for the Giants, so he misses a lot of Friday night football. Mm-hmm. But always the scoreboard operator is there. She's really important, because without her, we can't. I suppose we could play, but boy, it would be hard. The referees would have to keep the time on the field.
Yeah.
It would be really, and the score and everything, all the timeouts, which they do anyway, but it would be hard. But she's really, really, really helpful. And
just for people like my wife, do you have a spotter out there that tells you where the ball is being placed? Or are you doing that yourself?
No, I have my binoculars.
Yes.
I can.
You're calling the shots yourself.
Yeah. As long as the chain gang is operating efficiently.
Yeah.
Sometimes, and it's not their fault, because they're amateurs, their parents. Sometimes they're really slow, mm-hmm. and that means I have to delay the distance, and sometimes the down, the distance.
Before you make the announcement?
Yeah.
Then? Yeah. And what about visiting coaches or Burlingame's own coaches? Are they up there with you at all?
Some are and some aren't.
Yeah.
Burlingame is on the other side of the press box. To my knowledge, they don't send anybody up to the new press box, which is on the south side of the field.
When did that switch? This year or last year?
This year.
Yeah. Interesting, it's on the opposite side after being on the Burlingame side for so many years. Do you like it over there?
Sure, it's fine. Yeah. It's fine.
So I'm just wondering, have you ever announced for any other schools besides Burlingame?
Mills, for sure.
Yeah.
I do Mills when it doesn't conflict with Burlingame.
Right.
And in the past, I've done San Mateo as well.
No kidding.
Yeah, I've done the little big game for San Mateo probably 4 times.
No, you do the little big game for Burlingame as well.
Yeah.
That's great, man. That's a great game.
Of course, that goes back to 1927.
Yes, it does. Big history there.
Yeah.
So, what are some of the notable games that you have you've announced over the years?
Well, the little big game is always historical, and it means a lot. And they usually get a minimum of 3,000 people, either at Burlingame or at San Mateo.
Yeah.
And sometimes they get 5,000.
Yeah, I can remember back in the, I don't know, maybe the mid-'60s or the early 60s, I remember people lined around the field, not and that's when it was on Thanksgiving Day, so it was a real treat for everybody.
Right.
Yeah. Some notable coaches and maybe some players that you remember, that you worked with over the years?
Well, certainly Drew Schiller was outstanding. He was a multi-sport star at Burlingame.
Yep, I remember that.
Baseball, basketball, football.
I remember.
He was a scholarship prospect in all 3 sports. He wound up taking a basketball scholarship to USF, but he led his teams to 2 Central Coast section finals.
Yep.
Lost the first one as a sophomore, and then won as a senior. And both games were at San Jose City College.
I remember the one when he was a senior because my son was a junior. That was an amazing finish that they had down there.
He was extremely versatile. Pressure didn't bother him. He was very athletic.
So when I was reading your bio, John, you stated that you'd had several jobs prior to launching your journalism career, and I thought this was great. Okay, you put down busboy, shoe salesman, pharmacy driver, gardener, accounting clerk, but the one that really caught my eye was a butcher's apprentice. Where was that? What butcher shop or grocery store?
Well, that's also my favorite ex-job. I was 12. and I went to St. Matthew's School in San Mateo. It's on El Camino at 9th Avenue. And I'd walk home every day. I lived right behind where McDonald's is now, in that little neighborhood. So between 12th Avenue and what is now McDonald's, there was a market. The state market was in there. I guess it used to be Nick's Pizza and Deli. Right in there, right in that little area. So I used to go in there and get a Coke every day or every other day. And one time I'm in there, and the butcher, an old guy named Al, great guy, little Italian fellow, and he and his son ran the butcher shop. And he says, "Excuse me, could you help us for an hour?"
For an hour?
For an hour. And I said, "Well, what would I have to do? How many days a week?" And they said, 5 days a week for an hour and a half. Just clean up the stuff.
The butcher cleanup boy.
Clean up the, you'll love this, the electric bone saw. Hello,
I know.
Cal OSHA.
Yeah, 12 years old.
There wasn't any Cal OSHA.
No, there was.
Oh, and of course, a walk-in freezer. You have to do that. You have to inject the brine into the corned beef.
Wow, you did that. Good for you.
Yes, hello.
Yeah.
That was great with the syringe. It was wonderful.
So they throw the sawdust down on the floor?
Yes, I had to do that. And then I had to take out all the little platters in the display case because there'd be blood or something in them. Get rid of, take all those, wash them all, clean them up, and then put them back. Basically, I was the cleanup guy.
Yeah.
And they paid me 50 cents an hour.
Yeah.
Cash.
Yeah, cash, right.
So it was more than really 50 cents.
Absolutely.
No
75
tax,
cents.
No
You're
tax.
right.
And it was great. I probably made, 75 cents a day.
Yeah.
5 days a week. So that's $4. So I could buy the latest Mad magazine. Yeah. I could get a Green River at the pharmacy. I mean, it was great.
You were the big man on campus because you had the job at the grocery store.
Yeah.
Yes.
I figured I had something between 15 and 20 jobs over my lifetime. And what's great about having jobs is you learn what you don't want to do.
Yeah, you just eliminate. So moving from that, and all your jobs, how did you end up in journalism and specifically sports journalism?
Purely by accident.
You were not a journalism major at college?
No. I was a history and economics major at SF State.
Okay, so tell me how was the accident? How did the
I had some
start?
free time in 1963. At night. I had some free time at night. Now I was looking for something to do, make a little extra money. And I realized that the Advanced Star at that time was 3 days a week. All right? It was paid. You had to pay. But it was only 3 days a week. And I noticed that they had just changed their sports editor, and he didn't have any help. So I walked over to Lorton. There used to be Flings number 5 over here.
Yeah.
So I had a hamburger and a milkshake, and then walked over to the paper. And I walked in and I said, "Hi." His name was Phil Essler. I said, "Hi, Mr. Essler. I'm so and so. I'm a student at SF State. I've got time at night. Maybe I could, cover your high school football game on Friday night for you." It was, "Really?" He goes, "Well, hey, we'll try you out.
Yeah.
Go cover, I think it was Burlingame Westmore. Try that. We'll see how you do."
Yeah.
I covered it, did my thing, gave him the story. He goes, "Oh, not bad. Good. You can keep working."
Did anybody help you write it your first time out? You just did it on your own?
Yeah, I just did it on my own.
Yeah.
So, from that, what happened was I worked there for a year. And a sports writer from the San Mateo Times, Ron Reed, brilliant writer, just one of the best ever around here, sports writer. He was covering a game that I was at in the spring of '64. And he goes, hey, how much are they paying you at the Advanced Star? That was his first question.
Yeah.
It wasn't hello.
Right.
It was, how much are they paying
He's
you
trolling.
at the Advanced Star? He's a bottom line guy, great guy.
Yeah.
I said, I really forget what it was, like $5 a story or something. And he said, we pay way more than that. Why don't you come work for us? Sure, why not? More money. Bigger circulation too, and it was every day. It was 6 days a week. So I went to work for him, and then that's how it all just sort of evolved. And I'll tell you what, most of my career is by accident. But I will say this: both my parents were teachers. My dad was on the original Hillsdale High faculty.
Well, how far does that go back?
1954.
Boy.
While I was working for a butcher, he was teaching English, an English teacher at Hillsdale. So I had this background, and then I had this great teacher at Sarah. His name was Father John Zoff.
Yeah, he was
Z-O-P.
I had Father Zoff. I think we all had. Yes, I did. I think he went into the 80s or 90s or something. I think everybody I talked to from Sarah had Father Zoff.
Yeah,
and he was a wonderful English teacher, wasn't he?
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Now, a little note on Father Zoff. He taught 5 English classes a day. 5. Each class had about 40 guys in it.
I know.
Okay? So that's 200 students.
Yeah.
Every Friday, you had to turn in at least a 1,000-word essay.
My goodness.
To Father Zoff. So, guess what?
And he's correcting them all.
That's 200,000 words.
Yeah.
He took with him at 3 o'clock on Friday.
And took it back to the rectory or wherever they went.
Well, a lot of times he would take them and go to Mendocino. He went to Little River up there and spent all weekend doing papers.
Yeah, I think he lived well into his 90s. He was.
Yeah, he died in Oakland.
Bit of a legend, but it's funny that we both shared that moment. I want to go back to the Advanced Star just for a moment because I remember it well. Because it was the publication that would publish your Little League scores and your Babe Ruth League box scores. Yeah. And that's the first time I ever saw my name in print, right? And it was really cool.
Yeah.
And there would always be a little sketch on the game. The Cubs beat the Giants and all that kind of good stuff. So how many years did you work there? Was it just one?
Just one.
Just the one, but that was your intro.
Yeah, it was good.
Off the top of your head, how many years the Advanced Star was in existence? Like when did it start?
I know what it ended.
Yeah, when was that?
Mid-1970s, around 76.
And did they have a green pad? I don't want to get confused with. Yes, it was green, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a really cool paper. Yeah. John, I understand, and we're going to move into this now, that you have a book coming out titled Cradle of Champions, A Selected History of San Mateo County Sports. Did I get that correct?
Yes.
Okay. Selected history of San Mateo County sports. What do you mean by selected?
Selected means it's not 100% comprehensive. It means we are selecting highlights of people, places, games, teams, events. Now we do have some excellent comprehensive lists, like we have all the state champions from high school. We have all of our Olympians. We have all of Sarah's major league players.
Yes, you sent me some information.
Yeah, I think I sent you those.
I was amazed at some of that stuff.
Yeah, so and of course the Hall of Fame itself has over 300 people.
Yeah.
So it's not completely comprehensive, but hey, it's 40,000 words.
Yes.
It's 80 different stories, 80 photographs, and 25 lists. Tomorrow, Friday, I'm heading back to the museum. We're going to look at all the pages. They've got all the pages set up, and we're going to take the photographs and put them on the pages and make sure they're all correct. So we should have this puppy done early next year.
Because that was going to lead to my next question. When will the book be coming out? In the spring is what you'd like?
I'm thinking early next year.
How long did it take to write the book? I mean, when did it all start? And has this been something you've been working on for years?
Yeah. It's something, I'd go in fits and starts. I had a lot of trouble finding a publisher. Mm-hmm. At one point, I was going to put in about $15,000 of my own money and do it that way. And my wife said, "Are you sure about that?"
Yeah.
And I said, "Let me see if I can I'll give it one more shot to find a publisher." And sure enough, the History Museum came through.
Boy, that's great. I mean, I'm just thinking of your notability here in the Bay Area, John. It's just like, I can't believe that you had a hard time finding a publisher.
Well, you have to remember, though, this is going to have fairly limited appeal.
Readership?
Yeah.
Appeal?
I mean, it's about the peninsula.
Yes.
It's really about San Mateo County.
Yeah.
It's not about San Francisco. It's not about San Jose. It's about our hometown.
Are you planning a book signing or any events to promote the book when it comes out?
I'll definitely promote as much as I can.
Yeah.
Yes.
And when you do that, any coaches or athletes that were mentioned in the book, will they be invited to something? I mean, is it San Mateo County Historical Society is kind of like promoting the thing, correct?
Yeah, and I'm going to help them out.
It'd be kind of cool if you can get some ex-players or coaches to.
Well, we might have a special event. The Peninsula Sports Hall of Fame last held an induction affair in 2019. We didn't have it last year, and we're not going to have it this year because of the pandemic.
Sure.
Right? So we're pretty sure we're going to have it in 2022.
Yeah, good.
And it would be in probably April, May, June, somewhere in there. Maybe the book could come out at that time.
That'd be pretty cool.
And we could have a twofer. I'm not sure.
Right. It's all in the works, but that's a great idea as well. You named a few people. Give me a few coaches and some notable players that are mentioned in the book.
Brick Mitchell of San Mateo High School, 1926. Okay. Brick Mitchell, head football coach for the Bearcats, who won the state championship in football at Burlingame.
Wow.
At Burlingame.
Yeah, at Burlingame.
In front of 10,000 people.
Yeah, man.
Now, remember, Burlingame had just begun to accept students, but the football players who lived in Burlingame still played for San Mateo. That was the last year that they had a combined team at San Mateo.
So wait a minute, San Mateo was around before. San Mateo had a high school before Burlingame did?
Oh yeah, way before.
Oh, didn't know that.
Yeah, San Mateo's high school. Let's see, they opened in 1902.
No kidding.
In downtown San Mateo.
Downtown, and Burlingame came along in the mid-20s.
Burlingame celebrates its 100th birthday in 2023.
Okay, in the bio it also mentioned that you had a short-lived basketball career at Sarah and at USF, but you eventually graduated from San Francisco State.
Yeah, I dropped out of USF.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? Just didn't like it? Freshman year, sophomore year?
Things did not go well.
Tired of the Catholic school scene, and I'm sorry I said that, but that's okay.
There were some issues. I had to make a move. And it was a good move because I eventually wound up becoming a sports writer.
Yeah, I mean, it all works out, right? It all works out.
I am a strong believer in luck.
So you and Marilyn have lived here for 53 years?
We got married in 68, so what is that? That's 53 years. Yeah, 53.
Yeah. And you have the children and the grandchildren and everything. And I know that you and I could talk about changes that we have both seen in this little city, because I've been here just as many years, okay?
Oh, right.
Especially going up and down Burlingame Avenue. But instead of doing that, can you share a few fond memories?
I was thinking about that, and a couple of places that I do miss. I miss Borden's and Spreckles.
Okay, so Borden's was on the corner of Howard and it was on the corner of Howard and California Drive.
Yes.
And Spreckles was probably 2 doors up or 3 doors up on Howard on the left-hand side.
Yes.
Yeah.
I miss their vanilla milkshakes. I miss the main post office.
Yes, it's long gone, isn't it? Yeah.
I miss Primrose Lanes.
Yes.
The bowling alley.
So, that was right next to my dad's store, Jim Super, on the corner of Primrose and Howard. So,
yes.
He was always irritated because, everybody wanted to go bowling or shoot pool
yes.
would go into his parking lot, right? And, he had to put a guy out there and all that kind of stuff.
I miss Hal's Diner.
Yep, Hal's Diner in front of Safeway.
Yes.
With the great burgers and French fries.
Thank you.
Yep.
Let's see. I miss cruising on El Camino.
Yep.
Now I'll be 80 years old.
That's crazy.
In 6 months. I would not be cruising anymore, but I still thought it was kind of interesting back in the day.
I think a marked spot for cruising might have started at the old Lions in Millbrae.
Yes.
And then it just depended how far you would go, but a good turnaround, I think, was what they called Hal's Whistle Stop for a lot of folks down in Ralston and Belmont.
Yes.
They would turn around, or maybe turn around at Hillsdale.
Or
whatever.
Kibby's, perhaps at Kibby's.
I'm going to just go backwards for a minute because I wanted to ask you one thing. What school in the hall is who has the most Hall of Famers, I guess? What high school?
I have never gone through that.
Yeah.
But I would bet Sequoia, Sarah, San Mateo, Burlingame. I would bet that those 4 probably have the most. And CSM.
Yes.
The College of San Mateo.
Absolutely. Would you say that Sequoia has more than Sarah?
They might.
Sequoia was a powerhouse for a long time.
Oh, yeah.
Back when?
They were a powerhouse after World War II.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Those days, the 40s, 50s, and 60s at Sequoia were great days.
Yeah.
The school was huge. Ravenswood hadn't opened yet. San Carlos hadn't opened yet. Carlmont opened in 54. MA had opened in 52.
And that took some of the kids away from
But Sequoia was still huge. And Woodside had not opened either.
Yeah, correct.
So you had this huge school, and all the PE teachers were men. All the sports were for boys.
Yeah.
And all the boys' coaches were male coaches, and most of them were World War II veterans.
Yeah, geez, that's...
So they had a rigorous PE program.
Yeah.
They had a fitness program that was right out of Paris Island.
Yeah, because of all these guys coming out of the service.
Yeah, so their football teams were just tremendous.
And that's probably back in the days when they didn't wear too much. They wore helmets, but they probably didn't wear a lot of face gear at that time.
Things were changing.
Yeah, maybe they had the single bar.
Yeah, it was different.
Yeah.
It was different. And Sequoia, of course, if you go down and look at Sequoia today, you think you're on a college campus.
No kidding. I haven't been there in years.
Oh, it's amazing. It's just something else.
Do you visit the campuses quite often?
Well, yeah. I mean, I go to football games, basketball games. Yeah, it's sort of a social life.
Yeah, and
you know people, you know the refs.
Is Marilyn just as interested in sports?
Marilyn is more than pleased when I leave on Friday night. She goes, "What time are you coming back?" I go, 9:30. She goes, "Oh, why don't you stay out a little later?"
That's great.
I'm going to watch the Home and Garden channel.
Yeah. Well, John Horgan, I have run out of questions, man. I didn't even know I would get to this many questions, so I appreciate you being here today. It took me, like I said, a long time to get this thing off the ground, and I certainly hope it comes out well for the Historical Society. But even that, I had a real good time speaking with you today, John.
Well, it's fun. It's always fun to talk about the town, the people, the area.
Yeah. And I know you've done so much. I didn't even mention the walking tours that you do and more about your daily column. We could go on and on and on, and perhaps that'll be part 2 down the road.
Oh, that's okay. But I think the one thing I will say in closing is, and I'll just speak for myself.
Yeah.
I take it all for granted. Where we live, the weather, the beautiful open space, the bay. I got to be the luckiest person in the world.
How blessed. All 3 of us in this room are very lucky.
I mean, we are lucky.
Yeah.
Anyway, thank you very much.
John Horgan, thank you.
I hope you enjoyed today's video podcast featuring local journalist John Horgan. The Burlingame Historical Society copyrights this video podcast, and no part of this program can be rebroadcast or copied without permission. Today's music was provided by Bray, and you can hear more of Bray at braymusic.com. Ray Tyler provided video. So until next time, see you around Burlingame. It's a small town.